East End, a short film brought to you by Itzayara Garcia.
What is East End? A new community located southeast of downtown Houston that is filled with culture and diverse, that continues to develop with the essence that has been carried since its creations, welcoming different communities, but as well, it has been through adversity, which has only created a blooming environment for many. Or, as others may say, a community of immigrants, or as another East End resident, this area is predominantly Latino back in the day to now. Those same families still live here. You may be wondering, when was the creation of this community, or where did it originate? Second Word is one of the first communities of Houston that began in the 1900s, which is part of East End. Originally, it was influxed with German and Italian immigrants living in the area, although that quickly changed and once the Mexican Revolution began in 1910, which Mexican migration became a boom, as well the settlement of many. Meaning, as Germans and Italians were heading out of the East End communities, that brought in more Mexican residents, or from Latin America and later on decades. Mexican American migration to the East End area was rough for many. Many emerged into neighborhoods as El Alacran and Magnolia Park, all predominantly Mexican residents. This, although, led to many segregation and discrimination in these communities. For instances, many of them did not have water, sewage, or gas, or even paved streets to be able to drive safely or walk. And these were all due to the poor conditions that many of Mexican Americans lived at its time until later on decades, which things started to improve. Although many of them started to improve until later on, when things had already been industrialized, all being targeted at the very bottom as same as African Americans. Segregation and discrimination were not only seen through communities, but as well through church. St. Vincent de Paul was established in 1839, being the first Catholic church in the Houston area, although in its time it only served to white Anglo who spoke English, meaning it segregated against Mexicans or African Americans, or all of those that were less than the Anglo community. This led to the Mexican community creating its own church. The first one in the area is called the Our Lady of Guadalupe, established in 1911. It was the first one in the community to give Spanish services that involved and helped the community. Our Lady of Guadalupe has served the community for many generations, as it did to my family for my sister's baptism. Without realizing, the church has much of its own history involved in my own family. As well, I continue to visit this church, whether it is through different events or services, meaning it has impacted many residents in the own community of East End, but as well those outside of the East End community. Part of its services provided by the church is education, which was one of the first that allowed Mexican students into, and as well taught them Spanish, meaning that many of the schools in its areas did not allow Mexicans in its time. So that meant the church provided education for many and is still servicing to this day. The Mexican school, or as others may know it, Rusk Settlement. It provided aid for many of these residents by helping them through harsh times, whether it was not having enough food or as well helping them learn English, being able to be involved in and their daily life and what the American society wanted. As well, helping them with their citizenship and their legalization, since many of them were immigrants. Mexican American entrepreneurship began to rise, and one of them was the Saravia family, better known for the Azteca Theater and other businesses which they carried. They um, created the idea of cultural businesses and trying to provide for their community, and the people they were targeting were Mexican Americans by providing those services that welcomed them into a Latino environment that they knew they could find their produce or as well be welcome into their own entertainment. As well as Felix and Angela Morales, who established the Morales Funeral Home in 1931. Were also the that established KLVL, which was the first Spanish-speaking radio station in the Houston area. They helped by the community through entertainment, but as well by giving them aid when it came to needing, whether it was shelter or food, all all of which were donations made by the own people in order to help those in need. Ninfa Lorenzo is one of East End's legacies that still continue to be celebrated even through a long passing.
We're in the kitchen with Alex Padilla making that Tex-Mex obsession, fajitas.
This cook really quick.
Just really thin, yeah.
It's really thin, and you want to cook it medium rare. A little bit of garlic butter.
And we've come to the right place. Fajitas are known around the world, but right here at the original Ninfa's on Navigation is where they were made famous.
Ninfa started the fajita.
This is the mothership, you know. Mama Ninfa's created this in 1973.
Legendary Houston chef Ninfa Lorenzo added steak to the tortillas she was selling out of her house, and the recipe stuck. Mama Ninfa passed away in 2001. Her family sold the restaurant. Now Chef Alex, whose mom used to work alongside Ninfa, runs the kitchen. And he's still using Ninfa's original fajita recipe.
That's it. A lot of love from us.
That love keeping people coming back. Mama Ninfa passing on that spirit to workers like Katie Lopez, who's been a waitress for 42 years.
She gave it to us the opportunity to have this job until today. And I'm very proud.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey, NBC.
East End has not only been filled with rainbows and sunshines, but as well as gone through adversity, as El Alacran Barrio was completely wiped away after the creation of the 59 highway, which passed and what it originally was part of El Alacran Barrio, one of the original Mexican settlements in East End. Gentrification is a big topic of discussion when it comes to the challenges that East End is currently facing from the redevelopment of many of these houses. That means that many originating families have to leave because companies are trying to buy out their communities and their homes, which many do not want to leave because it is what makes them part of who they are and their history, as well just the simple taxes that have been going up through these redevelopments, leaving people having the need to leave because it is no longer affordable for them. East End is filled with much history and landmarks from Ninfa's on Navigation Street, Our Lady of Guadalupe, Pecan Park, and much neighborhoods that make East End a diverse and welcoming space, and as well filled with all of its own challenges that it has faced through. It makes it a big part of what Houston is and what it has to offer. And that was it for East End's short film. I hope you enjoyed.